Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for WandaVision. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Excuse me one second. Wow! Did y'all see that episode 5 of WandaVision? Oh my god! That episode had everything all in there. Look at that. Look, this episode had, I would say, it took care of all the complaints that a lot of people had about the show. Hi, by the way, I'm people. So I'm sitting here like, y'all gave us a 40-minute episode, and then on top of that, you gave us more MCU stuff, a little bit less TV sitcom stuff. I mean, my good, this is what I'm talking about. Now I can be held over for next week, but you know what? There is so much stuff to talk about in this episode. I gotta hurry. Let's just get right to the breakdown. Wanda and Vision are pushed into the 80s TV sitcom era. The twins Billy and Tommy have been constantly crying, and Wanda tries to keep them from crying by using her magic. However, her powers don't seem to work. In comes Agnes to save the day as she volunteers herself to take care of the kids. Vision has second thoughts about Agnes helping out, and she pauses for a moment to ask Wanda for some direction. Wanda decides to let Agnes take care of the kids, but Vision is still highly suspicious of that awkward moment. Vision questions Wanda about the situation, but Wanda dismisses his concerns. While they were talking, the babies stopped crying, and it turns out the little twins from The Shining have instantly grown to being 5 years old. Well, right off the bat, we just went from the 70s to the 80s, and I think only about 24 hours has passed in between that time. So time is really moving fast for both Wanda and Vision. Now, one thing to take notice of here that stood out to me was the fact that Wanda's magic didn't work. Well, if you recall from my last breakdown video, this also kind of struck me as odd when it was in relation to the stork that came. I mean, with Wanda having like these godlike powers in this reality, it's really odd that her magic just wouldn't work for whatever reason. And I think there are only two reasons as to why her powers are not working in this case. The first reason could simply be that maybe there's some stronger magic at play. Or the second reason is maybe her magic gets canceled out by the twins. Now, what I'm talking about is in Marvel, there's this like thing where, let's just say you have one mutant that's related to another, their powers tend to cancel each other out. And, you know, if one shoots a laser beam at the other, they don't feel it. So I wonder if this is kind of what's going on, because one of the twins who grows up to be Wiccan, he does have powers similar to Wanda. So there is that possibility that, her magic just has zero effect on them. Now, let's go back to that moment with Agnes where she was talking about let's take it from the top. And this could definitely mean a couple of things. If it's true that Agnes is under Wanda's control, then she could be saying this out of fear. Now, if Agnes is not under her control, then she could be asking this to help encourage Wanda further into this fantasy reality. Now, the real question here is like, why? Like, what does Agnes want? What are her intentions? Well, I'm glad you asked because I have a theory on that. I'm going to put it in my next video. And please go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out when I drop my video. Anyway, going back to Agnes, did you realize the fact that she didn't care when magic was happening in front of her? And then she made that little joke comment about how she's got a couple of tricks up her sleeve. I mean, when the kids grew up right in front of her, she just makes a casual joke about it all. I mean, if that's not a sign that this woman is a whole witch, I don't know what else you need to convince you. By the way, Agnes is out here looking for dark liquor and stuff, and she just on the counter, propped up, kicking back the dark Henny and stuff. What? Disney, you cool with this? I'm just saying, man, like Agnes with the hen dog, that's what y'all on? Okay, all right. Now, when we look at the introduction scene, the fact that there's red energy moving this brush, I think is another indicator that Wanda is the one that's doing some of the creating here. Going through the years, we see a young Wanda growing up. Now, I can't say this for sure, but I'm pretty positive that the graffiti here means something. So I'll wait for some other YouTube detectives to figure it out. If any of you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. And by the way, I gotta say, that baby Vision cracked me all the way up. And then when he turned into a little Oompa Loompa or whatever, oh my God, that was hilarious. And can I also say, looking at Tommy and Billy's pictures, don't they look bad as hell? I mean, they look like some bad kids. I know that's not just me. Please tell me. These kids look like some Dennis the Menaces. They some bad kids. I'm just saying, they look like they like to do bad things. We go back to Monica Rambeau being examined and interrogated by director Hayward after catching the ejectocito from Wanda. She explains that she was feeling a sense of drowning and hopelessness and a feeling of grief. Director Hayward and Jimmy Woo provided the Sword briefing to the rest of the team. They believe that Wanda is now the primary cause of the event and begin to go over her history. Hayward and Rambeau have a disagreement as to whether Wanda is actually a terrorist or not. He brings up some of the new information which also shows that Wanda has infiltrated Sword and stolen the Vision's body. Alright, so first let's go back. When it comes to Monica, that x-ray that she had, that was not a mistake. If you look really closely at the image, it still shows the outline of her body, and the reason why it came back that way is more than likely because she has now gained new powers thanks to Wanda. For those who don't know, in the comics, Monica gains superpowers, and if I'm not mistaken, she's kind of like a being of pure energy. So what you saw on the screen was just an image of the energy that she's now transformed into. Now, I'm going to try and make a separate video for that to kind of break that down and show you exactly how and why that makes sense within this show. But for the time being, what you saw in the x-ray, that's just Monica's actual new transformed body because she's going to have superpowers, and odds are you'll probably see that like towards the end of the show. Now, the back and forth between Monica and Hayward, that was something kind of interesting. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of side with director Hayward on this one. I know some people were thinking that he was just some big bad guy with this huge agenda and all, but to be honest, I don't really think he does. I think he's just more likely doing his job. And this goes right in line with the comics in the sense that regular human beings have always been afraid of the really powerful mutants or other people with superpowers. So for Hayward, he's probably just paranoid about Wanda because, you know, the Earth has been attacked by aliens before. And you have this Avenger with a really checkered past, by the way. First she was a villain, then she was a good guy, and now it seems like she's a villain again. And to top that off, it seems like she's even mentally unstable. I'm just saying, and Monica, her only defense is, she's in her feelings. Nah, sis. Nah. But we do need to go talk about Wanda being caught on tape stealing Vision's body. Now, I do believe that Wanda stole something from Sword. I just don't believe that it was the real Vision's body. Let me explain. I kind of think that Sword is actually hiding something. I mean, one thing to kind of pay attention to was on that security footage, the body was all disassembled. The last time we saw Vision, he wasn't ripped apart or anything. So something to me just doesn't really smell right. And there was some dialogue in the previous episodes that kind of got me a little bit more suspicious of Sword. I do think that they're hiding something. I'll try to put that in another video, but all I'm saying is I think it's a misdirect because it was just really convenient that Wanda just so happens to find this top secret location for Vision, and she just happens to know where he's at. I don't know. I got another theory about what might be going on, but for the time being, I do think that she got something from Sword. I just don't think it's the real Vision. The Nightmare on Elm Street twins bring a new dog home. Vision had a hunch someone would pop up with an item that they would require, and right on time, in comes Agnes with a doghouse for the new dog. Wanda conjures up a new dog collar, and Vision immediately calls her out on not hiding her abilities in front of Agnes. Wanda simply says she's tired of hiding. Vision continues to question what Wanda's hiding from him. A little bit after, in order to keep the dog, the children from the Corn twins aged themselves up to be 10 years old. Now, where did this dog come from? It clearly was a surprise to Wanda, and this isn't the first time that Wanda is surprised, but we'll get to that later. I think the thing to notice here is that if she truly is the one controlling this world with her powers, and if there are surprises coming from within the reality, then there's clearly another player in the mix. I actually think it's more than likely Agnes, who probably has her own hidden agenda. So maybe Agnes is creating things, or maybe she's convincing Wanda to create things. I don't know. But I don't know how many of you are out there who are married or you're in a relationship. But I gotta say, when you're in a relationship and both parties agree on something, and one of those parties decides to go off and break that agreement and go do whatever they want to do, that party is the bogus one. And in this case, Wanda is bogus. We went through like 3 episodes of Wanda sitting here talking about, oh, we got to hide our abilities. And now all of a sudden she was just like, meh, I'm just change the script. I don't feel like doing that no more. I'm just saying, Vision got a point here. Like, Wanda's in the wrong. Vision mentioned earlier that both him and Wanda used to be of like the same mind. Keep in mind that they usually have been on the same page mainly because of their connection to the Mind Stone. She got her powers from the Mind Stone and he had it stuck to his forehead. That link was something that bonded them for a very long time. However, the fact that they're not on the same page is very telling. It reminds me of the question that Agent Wu asked when he said, how could Wanda bring him back from the dead without the Mind Stone? Well, I think that only really suggests that this isn't the real Vision in any way, shape, or form. Back at Sword, Monica is trying to figure out how she can re-enter the Hex. The team originally thought that Wanda could be making people hallucinate everything that was going on inside the Hex. However, Monica has another theory, which is that Wanda is actually rewriting reality. So first of all, Monica knows an aerospace engineer. I wonder who that could be. I don't know. Y'all got some ideas on who that could be? I don't know. Now, I like that whole little meta commentary about when Monica was sitting here talking about Wanda could have taken out Thanos, you know, if he hadn't called that blitz in. And Jimmy was like, yeah, but Captain Marvel, though, she could have done it too, you know. First of all, which was true because Captain Marvel is overpowered as all knows what. But I was sitting there, I was like, wait a minute. How did y'all see what happened at Endgame? Like, did y'all get the 4K Blu-ray or something? Like, what? How y'all? I didn't see no drones flying around. How y'all know exactly what happened? Just saying. But anyway, you'll probably notice that Monica got a little triggered with Agent Wu mentioning Captain Marvel, and she quickly tried to change the subject. Well, I'm thinking that Monica probably has some built-up resentment for Captain Marvel, and keep in mind that Monica's mother was dying of cancer for some time. So I don't know, maybe Monica's upset that Captain Marvel didn't come visit. Maybe she's a little bit perturbed that Captain Marvel didn't find a way to save her mom. I mean, I'm sure we'll find out what Monica's beef is with Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel 2, but I'm interested. Why do you think that Monica's got issues with Captain Marvel? Now, I also wanted to quickly explain what Monica was talking about when it came to her clothing. We noticed that when people go into the Hex, that barrier will transform things to conform into whatever that current reality dictates. Before Monica went into the Hex, she was wearing a bulletproof vest. So rather than having her 70s clothes come out of thin air, Wanda's powers use the bulletproof vest and Monica's clothes to rewrite reality and remix it to fit into the current setting. Now, this phenomenon is super important, so it is going to explain some other things later down the road, so just don't forget it. Meanwhile, Vision's job has upgraded to having computers. He jumps onto the internet and he taps into what appears to be a Sword email or communication, and everyone in the office begins to read it in a trance-like state. Vision touches the computer and a flow of energy sparks. He then touches Norm, and Norm begs him to stop her. He says she's in his head, and it hurts so much. Vision touches his head again, and Norm goes right back into his sunken place. Okay, so I think the important thing here is that not only did they get computers, but they got access to the internet. I believe this is what Vision has actually connected with when he touched the computer. I suppose you could think of it similar to the CMBR or the radio waves, where they also connected to the outside reality. So I guess you can kind of look at it as like a connecting link. However, with Vision being a walking computer, I'm thinking that he took that outside connective link and now he's got a similar link because he's kind of like walking Wi-Fi. That might explain why he's able to just walk around and zap people to wake them up, or in this case, put them back to sleep. In other words, when Vision touches someone, it looks like he is connecting their mind to the real reality, and therefore it breaks the current hold that Wanda's reality has created. Well, this was definitely an interesting turn of events, and I think this really just gives Vision another tool in trying to crack this big mystery for him as to what's really going on. Billy and Tommy question Wanda about why Vision is at work on a Saturday. The Conjuring twins feel a little bit unloved, but Wanda lets them know that they are loved and family is forever. They ask her if she has a brother, and Wanda admits that she does, and he's far away from here. As she goes outside, Wanda sees the Sword drone that is spying on her. Sword attempts to fire a missile at her, but the drone was disabled. Wanda comes out of the hex, mad, and tosses that drone back at Sword. She warns them to leave her be or else. As she leaves, she mind controls the agents to point their guns at the director. So through her conversation with her kids, clearly Wanda still misses her brother, but that's something we'll get back to later. The real conversation right now is that confrontation between Wanda and Sword. Look, I have to say, when she came out of that hex, I was legit scared for all of them at Sword. I was just like, y'all gonna die. Like, all of y'all gonna die. But I do think that this scene revealed a couple of things here. First, I want you to notice that when she left the hex, her clothes reverted back to her endgame appearance. This is actually unlike anything we've seen so far because, as I've pointed out in my previous video, the Beekeeper and Monica Rambeau showed that when you leave the hex, those things stay real. However, Wanda didn't walk out with her 80s attire on. That, to me, is more evidence that she's obviously controlling things. The rules don't apply to her because she can make the rules up as she goes. Now, I also noticed a lot of people mentioning the fact that Wanda's accent has also came back. You know, she had the accent in Avengers Age of Ultron, then she lost it in Civil War, and now all of a sudden, you know, it's come back. Look, let me tell you something. I've got Haitian immigrant parents. When they get mad, that accent comes out thick. Okay, so anybody that's been like foreign or whatever, if that was your first language, if English is not your first language, if you get mad and emotional, the accent comes back. So I'm personally not looking too deep into that. And we can clearly see in this situation that Wanda is mad. But one more thing to consider. As Wanda leaves, she does something to the hex, turning it red. I believe that she changed the nature of the barrier to further prevent people from coming in. Look, I don't know what ADT security package she done upgraded to, but at this point, ain't nobody coming back in there. I know in one of the trailers we saw a clip of like a Sword vehicle trying to ram its way in there. I don't think that thing is going to budge at all. If Wanda don't want you in there, you ain't going in there. So Sword can say goodbye to them drones. Now, as for that Lagos commercial, keep in mind that many of these commercials are callbacks from Wanda's troubled past in some way. This one is referencing the time in Captain America Civil War when she tried to contain the blast of Crossbones' explosion and ended up killing innocent residents instead. So in the commercial, all that spilled juice is really representative of the blood that Wanda didn't mean to spill. We jump back to find out that Sparky has died after being found in Agnes's bushes. The Poltergeist twins were about to age themselves up until Wanda stopped them. The kids tell her that she can fix the dog by bringing him back from the dead. Wanda gets real sentimental with them and tells them that in life there are just certain rules that you cannot break. Now, did y'all catch when the mailman made that little comment when he was like, "Oh, don't worry kids, your mom won't let the dog get far"? I'm just sitting here thinking like, I'm shocked that Wanda is allowing so much shade to go unchecked. But that little bit of shade is just more indication that, you know, some of these residents, they know that Wanda's the one that's in control here. Now, something else to pay attention to, when the boy said that Wanda could bring back the dog from the dead, Did you notice the look of surprise on Agnes's face? She was legitimately surprised that it was within Wanda's abilities. Once again, I do believe that Agnes is the one that's up to something here, but again, we'll come back to that later. We find Vision and Wanda back at home, and Vision tells her that he spoke to Norm free of Wanda's oversight. He tells her about the pain that he was under, but Wanda tries to dismiss the issue and actually rolls the credits. But Vision wasn't having that. He continued to press Wanda and says that he believes the reality was initially part of Wanda's subconscious and she only recently became aware of it. Wanda continues to deny the issue and Vision gets upset with her lies. Wanda says that all of this is for them and she will handle it. Vision wants to know what's outside of Westview because he can't remember anything before Westview and that he's basically scared. He questions why there are no children, and Wanda quips back that she doesn't even know how all this started. Then the doorbell rings, and Wanda is shocked to see her brother standing at the door, Pietro. Woo! Okay, look, first of all, Vision is clearly tired of Wanda's crap. He's also acknowledged the fact that he knows, better yet maybe he's always known, that Wanda is controlling other people's minds. But look, when Vision sat here and was talking about, you can't control me like you do the others, and Wanda was like, can't I? I was like, Vision, run, fly away. You gotta go. You gotta get out of here. This ain't safe no more. But this actually was kind of important, and let me explain why. I actually have to put on my theological hat from seminary grad school because I paid a lot of money for that school, and, it needs to come in handy for something. Now, follow me here. In this reality, Wanda is godlike. Like, she, in a sense, is God, right? I mean, she essentially can do whatever she wants. She can create things out of nothing. She can control people's minds, which essentially means she can take away people's free will. However, it does appear that that is not the case for Vision. She hasn't put that mind control on Vision to take away his free will. Why? Because she wants to be in love with Vision. If she's controlling Vision, like a puppet, and he has no free will, love is not possible. In order to have love, you must have the ability to choose. But that also means that if you have free will, you can choose to love and you can choose not to. So when Wanda says, can't I? That really means that she could enslave Vision's mind if she wanted to. But again, she wants to actually have a loving relationship with him. So this is one of the reasons why I believe you see Vision kind of like having these little moments of waking up, and just kind of questioning things because he's not under the same type of control. But in a sense, this is also a drawback for Wanda because by not putting that mental control on him and taking away his free will, you give him the capacity now to think for himself and to make his own choices. And that choice might be to go against Wanda. When Vision asked about where are the children in this place, Wanda was saying that she didn't even know how this all started. Well, this introduces some evidence that maybe something else is going on. Wanda is clearly maintaining this reality. There's no doubt about that. During that conversation, Vision said that there's a possibility that this could be coming from her subconscious. But there's also the possibility that she could be being manipulated into creating this reality too. Now, I'm under the impression that it's actually Agnes that's doing this pushing to Wanda, but that has yet to be revealed. And like I said, I'll share that theory with you all soon. Now, as for the big reveal, I remember Elizabeth Olsen was doing this interview and she was like, yo, there's going to be like this big surprise cameo. It's going to be like the Skywalker Mandalorian thing or whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, okay. If you really want to blow fans away, you about to bring Magneto through the door. I'm like, man, you going to bring Michael Fassbender through here? And that would be interesting. That would blow my mind if Magneto just showed up. But, I also always believe that, if you can bring back your dead boyfriend, why wouldn't you bring back your dead twin brother? So the option to bring Pietro back wasn't that shocking to me whatsoever. But man, in true Marvel fashion, they straight up pulled the rug from under me, and they was like, oh yeah, we bringing Quicksilver back, just not the one you expect. And now we got Evan Peters showing up, but what does all that even mean? Now, I understand some of you might be new to Marvel, or you don't understand why Marvel fans are freaking out over the appearance of this Pietro, her, Wanda's brother. Let me just give you, without going too deep into it, let me just give you a quick roundup. Basically, back in the 90s or whatever, Marvel went bankrupt. They had to sell the rights to their characters. Fox, which was a different studio, they bought the characters, which included all the X-Men, mutants, and stuff like that. Once they did that, Fox made like some questionable movies, but those movies did not count with what Marvel Studios was doing. So you had Marvel Studios making movies, then you had Fox making their own type of Marvel movies. Two different things, two different universes. Then Marvel ended up buying Fox, so now they're all together in the same house. However, just because they're in the same house doesn't mean that they've actually been in the same room. The reason why people are freaking out is because the Quicksilver that used to be in Fox is now showing up in WandaVision, and now people are freaking out because they're like, oh my gosh, this is the first confirmation where we've seen someone from another property come in and now be canon within the MCU. So basically, thanks to the billions of dollars that Disney and Marvel paid Fox to get their characters back, Marvel gets the opportunity to pick and choose whoever they want to put into canon moving forward. Now here's something else to consider and something we have yet to find out. Wanda was in shock when she opened the door, and Darcy only caught on when Pietro mentioned the long-lost bro line in the episode. Darcy realized that he did look different, and that's what prompted her comment to say that Wanda recast her brother. So all I'm saying is, if this Pietro happens to walk outside of the Hex, and let's say he becomes real, a lot of the people outside in the real reality are going to realize that he is not the actual Pietro. They're going to realize that he is different. But now we've got another question here, right? Where did this Pietro come from? Was it from Wanda? Because she was certainly surprised. She was like, yo, I didn't even do this, not with my powers. I personally think that, again, this was Agnes. I mean, check this out. Pietro was mentioned or referenced twice in the previous episodes. One time with Monica and then another time with her boys. However, he never made an appearance. It wasn't until Wanda was in front of Agnes and the boys mentioned about bringing people back from the dead, and Agnes was like, you can do that? I'm just saying she looked very interested in the fact that she just discovered that Wanda had that potential ability. Not to mention, remember, Agnes always brings something helpful whenever, certain things are about to go wrong or if there's a problem. I just thought it was a very convenient timing for Pietro to show up right when Vision and Wanda were having a real heart-to-heart about what's really going on in the reality. So I felt as though when the reality gets threatened, when it was about to come to an end, in comes another helpful item to help keep Wanda stuck in this reality. So I'm thinking this is Agnes's doing. So you let me know. If you think Agnes is involved, let me know why you think she is. Now, I have to mention this because I know a lot of people are going off with this. A lot of people are like, whoa, we're in House of M. We've got mutants now. Okay, I need y'all to pump your brakes. We don't have any confirmation of any of that yet. Now, we, the audience, we know that Evan Peters has played Quicksilver in the other X-Men movies. However, the show itself has not established any of that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but to this day, we have not heard even the mention of the word mutants in the MCU. I mean, the closest we got was probably Baron von Strucker or whatever, where he had said that they were miracles. And besides that, I believe it was Nick Fury when he had mentioned mutants in Iron Man deleted scene, but deleted scenes don't count. So all I'm saying is I don't believe that this is the official, introduction for mutants just yet. Keep a couple of things in mind. Only Wanda recognizes him. Vision really didn't get him, but then again, he can't remember anything before Westview either. Beyond that, we don't know if Wanda conjured him up because of her subconscious, or we also don't know if, she pulled him from another universe and maybe we're dealing with the multiverse. And we also don't know if someone else didn't just conjure up Pietro instead. So again, just because we know who he is doesn't mean that it's official in the MCU just yet. Because for all we know, Marvel could just be playing games with us, and by the time this show is over, they're just like, oh, that was just a temporary for fun thing. He's gone now. I hope they don't do that, because he was arguably the better Quicksilver anyway. So I'd hate for Marvel to just throw away one of their best toys. Anyway, that is all I've got for today. My goodness, that was a doozy. There was so much to talk about, probably still even more to talk about. But you tell me, what did you love about this episode? What questions are you still hoping can be answered? I mean, I think at this point, we have got so much stuff to dig into. This is definitely going to hold me over until next week. I am completely satisfied with the show right now. Now, in case you missed it, last Friday we did do a live chat, just kind of going over reactions and just talking about different things that happened in the episode. In case you missed it, don't worry. This Friday, we're going to do it again, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. And we're going to talk about episode 6 and whatever goes down at that point. I heard some of you missed the last chat. Look, subscribe if you haven't already, and please make sure you hit the bell, because for whatever reason, sometimes YouTube doesn't notify you, but if you have that bell, you'll get notifications whenever I go live or if I drop a video. Anyway, as I've been saying forever, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.